you have to change your dimension or how you render yourself in space and time. Once you change your dimension or how you render again yourself in space and time, this is where you become successful and you're happy. This is where, if you're not successful, you can change yourself into another dimension where you are successful.
You've probably heard the term quantum physics. And for most of us, the closest we've come to really understanding it is watching Big Bang Theory. But today on the XI podcast, we're going to dive into this with Sajady. He's going to explain really what quantum physics is, and more specifically, how it affects your life and my life from a variety of different perspectives. So Mas, this is so interesting, right? Quantum physics. It sounds like this really, out there term, and a lot of people, I think, don't understand what it is. I'd love for you to explain in layman's terms, right? What is quantum physics and why should we care?
Quantum mechanics and quantum physics affects you each and every day. For example, your breathing patterns, the way you live, the way your body structure works, the way your blood transports, oxygen and so on like that. And just to explain what quantum is, it's very small, minute particles. They would call them, say, frequencies that dictate what happens in the quantum realm, that dictates what happens in the physical realm that we all, say, touch, hear, and experience.
Yes. So quantum physics is so minute, like these are not, these are particles. Like we can't see these are invisible to us in terms of our human eyes. Like we don't see this, it's happening on a frequency level. It's so small, we probably can't even wrap our heads around how small that is.
They have like they have like colliders, for example. They can't even see the particles, but they propel these colliders and they like smash these atoms that we can't see, but it leaves like footprints. And that's how they know that there are particles much smaller than, say, what we can even conceptualize or see under, say, a microscope.
So quantum physics is the study of matter and energy. And I would love to know a little bit of your backstory in terms of when you really started to study this and dive wholeheartedly like into the study of quantum physics, which is a huge part of what you do today with XI.
Well, when I was a wee little kid, like, again, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I was observing the bigger world, and I was observing behaviors of people, and I'm going, why do they behave like that? Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And I was really intrigued. And then as I grew older, I went down the normal realm that people do, religions and then, leadership skills and success skills. I'm going, well, that's going to change my life. And then I started getting into more of the science, more behavioral type pattern. So I thought it was psychology that really, say, affects and controls your life like most people do. Right? A lot of the leadership training classes and motivational classes, they're all about, say, psychology and so on like that. But then I had 2 near-death experiences, and the near-death experiences really allowed me to understand. It's like, no, wait a second. It's not about psychology. It's not about your attitude. It's not about your emotion. That's an after effect. It's literally how you render yourself in space and time. And that's a feature of quantum, say, physics. I call it XI. I've even termed a whole science called exponential intelligence based on, say, the quantum mechanics or quantum neuroscience, as they would call it.
Your 2 near-death experiences were instrumental in helping you dive into this field of study.
Absolutely. And it made me understand, again, just like Einstein says, Einstein says that, you can't fix or you can't solve a problem based on, if you're in the same reality or in the same consciousness or in the same dimension as, say, the problem. You just can't. So those 2 near-death experiences allowed me to step outside, say, the human function of how this reality works or how humans work in this reality. And from that experience and from that knowledge and from pulling away from that, again, I see it from a very, very different perspective. I don't see, say, the hard, say, the density of this reality. I see the makeup or how this reality is made up by layer upon layer upon layer, right? Just like I was talking earlier, right? The bigger objects here are dictated or it dictates how they move and what their properties are based on, say, quantum or minute particles. And they are the building blocks of this reality, by the way. They build everything, just like atoms, right? Atoms build everything. Atoms, they build your hair, they build your eyes, they build your phone. Everything is created of atoms. Well, right now, I'm proposing that there's even a smaller particle. Okay, I would call it a molecule of, and this gets really far out there, I would call it, say, a molecule of time and space. That is the basis of everything that we see here, the building blocks of everything that we see here and experience. Now, that's really far out there, because I talked to a physicist about that. It's like, what? Tell me more. Tell me more. It's like time and space is a molecule. It is. It's literally kind of like an atom that is the building block of this reality. And that's how I base my experience. And that's how, well, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people, say, transform their lives, not just a little bit, but radically transform any aspect of their life. Again, by quantum, say, physics.
With your near-death experiences, obviously being a very unique experience, it's there are, I don't even know how many people in the world have had two. I mean, you've had two near-death experiences, which is wild. For people who are watching, people who are listening, myself included, we've not had these experiences. And so I'd love for you to dive into what it is that you've learned and what you know about quantum physics and how it actually impacts our, daily life. How does it affect us from two perspectives? I think most people can relate to family life and work life. Let's start with family. How does quantum physics affect our family lives? Are there some examples or things that you can share with us that would help us to maybe better understand the correlation between our daily lives and what's going on in the quantum field?
So in your daily life, for example, the way you behave, the way your attitude is, the way you look at your reality, the way how you see yourself, even your self-reflection of yourself, your self-identity that you've created through your money or your success or the failure of success, and all that are based not up here, not in a psychological faction like most people see or most people think. And that's been the study. You change your psychology, you change your life. We're starting to find out that that's not true. Or, the same case study is like, well, you make a lot of money, then you're happy and so on. The reason why those things fail, and they fail miserably, by the way, is that because you have to change your dimension or how you render yourself in space and time. Once you change your dimension or how you render, again, yourself in space and time, this is where you become successful and you're happy. This is where, if you're not successful, you can change yourself into another dimension where you are successful. Okay, I'll give you two scenarios. Most people want to become successful. There are those individuals who never become successful. And they might think it's their schooling, it's the way they were brought up, it's bad luck and all that stuff. No, it's the version of yourself that you're rendering yourself in. There are millions of different possibilities of you that are in, say, the multiverse. People looking outside, looking at my life, it's like, I am successful, I look successful, but why don't I feel successful? Why aren't I complete? Because that dimension dictates that you are not successful. So no matter what you do at a physical level, you will not be successful, and success will not be, say, complete for you.
I think it's also the definition of success. And I know you've done many videos on success and mindset, and we'll link some of those up around this video as well, because those are powerful. But yeah, illness. I hear what you're saying. We have to really define what success is, or have a better understanding of what it means to have true success, because it's not necessarily materialistic things or money, or it's about the frequency at which you operate your life.
Yes. And it's not one or the other. If you're in the right dimension, you have both. You have physical success and that internal success. I work on a lot of those individuals. It's like, shit, yeah, I got successful, but I'm still empty on the inside. What the hell's going on, Moss? And they come to me and they go, well, let me put you in the right dimension. And then their success mechanisms or whatever they've learned work. On the flip side, though, I just want to get to that, is that a lot of times most people lose their identity of self. Okay. And here's the key. You're copying somebody else's pattern, most likely your parents' pattern. So your life that you're living is not yours. The diseases that you get as you age, how you look, your relationships, you're just copying the same formula for your life and then duplicating it onto your life. And you're trying to change it. But again, how can you change that? You can't. Well, you can with XI, exponential intelligence, and that's what we do. We literally help you change the dimension or change the channel that you think you are creating yourself in. You change the channel, and then everything starts to work out a lot better for you.
So, Moss, frequencies and energy, is it as simple as just how we speak to ourselves, or do we do affirmations, and how do we speak to others? Is it just behavioral? Like, what are some practical things that people can do to alter, those frequencies so that they can be more aligned to quantum physics, so that we can get, because ultimately your point is exactly right. We want success. And maybe our definition of success needs to be rearranged. But let's just presume, let's say you have a good, clear definition of what success is, and it's not just money, it's about happiness. But what can we do practically that would allow us to be aligned to quantum physics so that we can get those things?
All you have to understand, and that's what a lot of our 18-day meditations are about, and all the things that we do, is that one, your body already knows the mechanics on how you can be successful. So what we do is literally allow you to connect to the same frequencies as your natural intelligence or your autonomic nervous system. If you look at your autonomic nervous system, especially if you're healthy, right? It's on time, it's on cue, it tells you how your heart rate works, all those things in perfection. So all you literally have to do is understand the physics on how to, say, ride the wave of your natural intelligence. And that's all you have to do. It's very, very simple. You don't have to start studying quantum mechanics or quantum physics or know about time and space or anything like that. I've done that for you. So you don't have to know anything, but just listen to the frequencies, and then you'll naturally, like I said, vibe. But coming back to your question, most people think frequencies are delta brain waves, alpha brain waves, delta wave, alpha, gamma, beta, and so on like that. Those are the frequencies that we have to change. Again, those frequencies are really fantastic. Those frequencies have been shown, if you change them, you might be in better thought, better mood, and so on like that. But those are very limited. They don't change your perception of how you see your life. They change your emotions. They change your physical, say, presence. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So what we do here is go to what layer of frequencies. So one, we have to understand frequencies. There's frequencies that, say, generate this reality. Okay. There are frequencies of sound. There are frequencies of light. So some people, for example, say that you're hearing a sound, and it sounds kind of insulting, this example that I'll give you, but people do that, right? You have a sound that's you're not liking. You have a sound that, it's a frequency, right? A frequency sound that you don't like. You turn off your lights, thinking that the sound wave is going to go away. The sound wave that you affected is an audio wave. Turning off a frequency, a light wave, is not going to affect the audio wave. Okay. So how does that affect you? Well, the way your living standard is just like that frequency. It's a frequency deep inside that resonates from your genetic patterns. Okay. It's from a dimensional frequency of how you render yourself in space and time. So when you change your alpha brainwave, yes, it might help you, but again, it doesn't change. Just like turning off the lights to switch off that sound, it's not going to help you very well. So what we do is we go to the core level frequency. I would call it your master blueprint on how you've created yourself here. Okay. If that makes sense to you. Does that make, hopefully that's clear.
Yeah. I was thinking as you were describing that, I thought that sound analogy that you just gave is brilliant. And I was thinking it's the nails on the chalkboard. That's the sound that no one likes. Nails on the chalkboard. But turning off a light or dealing with a different kind of, that doesn't affect that.
It doesn't affect that at all. And this is why you can try psychology, you can try therapy, you can try self-improvement classes. In fact, people spend hundreds of thousands a year on self-improvement. There's a lot of companies that send their employees to, motivation classes and so on like that. And even like trying to heal themselves medically, right? They can go to doctor after doctor after doctor. But if your frequency, again, your life frequency, let's call it, is like ill, and it's resonating as illness, no matter what you do with all these other frequencies that create your life, it's not going to help you. If your success frequency at your, again, life frequency is not of success, no matter what you do, your psychology, no matter, even if you become successful, you're not going to feel successful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hopefully
So
it does.
Moss, most
Yeah.
of the examples that you've given in this conversation have been around success, which I would correlate to maybe more the work side of our lives.
Yes.
I want to kind of shift over to the family side of our lives, which is probably more relationship based. So talk to us about how quantum physics or the frequency work that we're talking about here predominantly affects how we interact with, let's say, family members or, relatives, that sort of thing.
Okay. So just forgive me when I call success, whatever that makes you happy or whatever that you need to acquire. That's what I'm thinking. So, but specifically, this is the same thing. Your life frequency, okay, your life blueprint dictates that you have crappy relationships. You have relationships that abuse you. You have relationships that shortchange you. You have relationships that whatever, for some reason, it doesn't fulfill you. I call it organic relationships. It's a relationship that isn't organic and it doesn't help you flourish. Okay. That's your life frequency that you're resonating at. Okay. A very deep level. And you got that again from genetic patterns, social patterns, whatever it might be. I pinpoint that with, private session, but you have this frequency, again, a life frequency. You look outside and you go, you know what? My relationship isn't working. I'm going to go change the frequency of how I look. Yes, you might get more attraction that way, but then long term, what happens, ladies, is that relationship still ends up the same pattern. It gives you the same end result. Why? Because it's not the frequency of how you look. It's not the frequency of how happy you are in front of those people, that you're trying to impress. It's not the frequency of how you say change to impress those individuals and then and all those things. It's about your life frequency that has to change.
Yeah.
And it's not just theory, by the way. I've had, I don't know, over 100,000 client sessions. That's a lot it's not clinical data, guys. It's not like some lab rat that they tested it on. These are literally live sessions with live people that have issues like you do, and they get results. And we've got tons and tons of, say, actual physical life changes for these people, whether it's relationships or health or success in general, and whatever success means to you.
Well, I want to round up this XI podcast conversation, coming back to what you said earlier, which is that nor people watching or listening need to know the details of quantum physics to understand how we can actually use it to our advantage. So I'd love for you to explain how, because you mentioned it, right? 18-day hypermeditation, a great place for people to start and experience what it's like to have you guide us through a reset of our frequency and the level at which we see ourselves. So explain to listeners and viewers how that works.
Absolutely. So the 18-day hypermeditation, it is literally as simple as you can do it live or you can do it as a recording. Live sessions are 9:30 a.m. p.m. Central Time. You can either do it once or twice a day, depending on, say, how excited you are to transform your life. You can transform your life in 18 days. But remember, you're changing a lifetime in 18 days, so it might get intense for you. Okay. So I highly recommend, if you're new to me or if you're new to frequencies, take just the once a day. because it does get really intense. And I think you, Cheryl, I don't know if you've tried it,
I
but
did
just
the
going through
one.
the
Yeah.
work, it gets very intense because the changes are real. The changes, again, you'll literally feel yourself shift into another dimension. It's not a psychology change. And you can attest to this. It's like, wait a second, my psychology changed, but something that I'm looking at in my life changed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How
Well, not
you
only
felt?
for me, I mean, my sister even, my
Exactly.
sister, same thing, did the once per day. No, she did the accelerated.
Oh wow. She
She
was
did it
gung ho.
twice. First time she did the first one, and then the second time she did accelerated. She swears that her life has changed. No doubt, her life has changed. And so,
Exactly. And
yeah,
it's not a
it's
psychology change, is my point. I
that's
mean,
right.
your life changes, but it's not from here. It's a dimensional change. Again, it's your life blueprint that changes. And that's what I'm stressing on. So the 18 days is literally it's as simple as you getting online, either live or as a recording, and you just throw on your headphones or you get in a comfortable space and you just listen to me. And I generate the frequencies that'll help you shift and help you come into a better version of who you are. It's really that simple. And then you start to become aware of how you start to see yourself, how you are, say, sending out frequencies, okay, that other people pick up on, and then they'll treat you on what you're sending out, okay? So
It's brilliant. I love it.
even if people don't know your language, or if you go to a foreign country that speaks a different language, they'll treat you the same way. The
Yeah.
reason why is your frequencies, again, your life frequencies that you're sending out dictate that you be treated that way. Okay. No other program, psychology program, or anything else changes that life, say, frequency that you have. I call it your personal frequency signature, by the way. So when you change that, your life really starts to change. And after listening to this podcast, observe what you can do. Okay, if you don't believe me, what you can do is observe how you interact with people. Observe yourself observing yourself,
Mhm.
interacting with people. Observe yourself interacting with yourself. Observe yourself interacting with your environment or the situation. And you'll start to see it's like, gosh, I'm starting to see patterns in myself. I'm starting to see it's like I would treat myself the exact same way as that person's treating me.
Right. But
Now
it's
that I'm
taking
seeing
that,
the patterns.
yeah, and taking that bird's eye view of yourself, which is a challenge. And most people don't do that in their daily lives, right? In our daily life, we're so busy doing the things that we need to do to keep food on the table and get to the job and do and we're so in the weeds with our lives that we rarely do that. We don't take the step back and look at ourselves from a bird's eye view and observe ourselves almost like a near-death experience, right? Where we're hovering
Absolutely.
over ourselves and looking. We don't do that, but we
We don't.
would benefit from doing that.
This is observing your physical body in motion with other, say, bodies outside of you,
Yeah.
other, say, objects and so on like that. It gives you a reference point of how space and time works, how the fourth dimension works. And I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Because it gets
So
really intriguing then.
yeah, I love it. So we really determined today that quantum physics, quantum mechanics does affect our daily lives, family life, work life. But in order for us to be able to take advantage of that amazing field of study of matter and energy and frequencies, we don't have to be quantum physicists to be able to change our lives. And
No.
that there are programs like yours out there that can help us to really step into that place. And I really appreciate you painting that picture for us today,
Absolutely.
Moss. Thank you so much for this.
Thank
One
you.
thing I would just leave our viewers and listeners with is that XI podcast, there are so many amazing episodes that you've done that are available through whatever podcast platform people want to partake, but make sure you follow the show and more great episodes are coming your way. Thank you so much, Moss.
Thank you.
To learn more about the 18-day hyper meditation, you can visit Sajady's website and you'll find all of the details that you need in order to partake in the next one.